Hey guys, welcome to a new video. Today we're going to be talking about the UCAT and specifically about a section that is the nemesis of many medical students, and that is the verbal reasoning section. So we're both Oxbridge offer holders and we both scored the lowest in verbal reasoning, so that kind of speaks for itself really. Now about the verbal reasoning section, it's 44 questions to be completed in 21 minutes, so that's roughly half a minute per question on average. And 44 questions are split into 11 passages, each with 4 questions following it. And out of those 11 passages, 7 will be reading comprehension, and the other 4 will be true, false, can't tell. So everyone tends to find their reading comprehension questions more time pressured, so that basically just adds to the time pressure really. And to illustrate our sort of tips for this particular section, we'll just go through questions because that's the easiest way to highlight these tips.
Yeah, so we're going to be doing the questions with you guys. Okay, so right now on the screen, these are from the UCAT question bank, which you can find online. In fact, we'll probably just link it in the description. Pause the video here and start like a stopwatch for 30 seconds. We'll try working out the answer.
So that's your time up, and now I will talk about a technique that I like to use with these reading comprehension questions, or any passage really. So first you're going to want to split the passage up into paragraphs, which has already been done for us, and briefly skim through each paragraph to get the general gist of what it's about. So the whole passage is talking about cholesterol levels, heart disease, and the links. And then the first paragraph is one sentence introduction. The second paragraph is talking about the evidence, talking about a particular study, the key study. And then the third paragraph is talking about the weaknesses of a study. And the last paragraph is talking about the sort of consequences, like the long-term research, long-term knowledge, etc. So that just allows you to make it easier to look for the information in the passage. So after you've done that, you can answer this particular question, which is a keywords question.
Yeah, so if I actually read the question, it says Keyes is thought to have selected Finland as one of the countries for his 7-country study because people there had, and then there are just some words on heart disease and diet. And I can see heart disease on the second paragraph, and also heart disease and fatty diets in the third paragraph. So I'm going to look here. I'm also going to look for Finland, and I'm just skimming this. Here we are, Finland and Italy. So Keyes had not chosen his countries randomly, but selected only those likely to prove his beliefs, including Yugoslavia, Finland, and Italy, and exclude countries with low heart rate. Okay, so because he excludes countries with low rates of heart disease, it's people there are going to have high risks. So it's going to be A or B, and because at the beginning it says that fat milk, meat, and butter are said to raise cholesterol levels, and that's what he's trying to prove. It's going to be B.
Yep. So that's how you do that question. Now we'll move on to the next one. So here's the next question, and as usual, if you want to pause it here and try doing the question yourself. So this is according to the passage question, which basically calls for you to look for a specific idea in the passage. In this situation, it's talking about Keyes' theories being accepted, so that'll be in the second paragraph, as you can see there. It talks about how he aggressively bullied nutritionists, so A is definitely not right. B is also not necessarily right because it's nothing to tell us how well regarded the US research is. And C is not necessarily right either because we don't know that people trusted him. He bullied nutritionists into supporting his diet disease theory, so that kind of implies that people didn't really trust him but were forced to accept his ideas. Only D is left, and you can verify that D is the answer. looking at the last
The mark
paragraph.
scheme. Oh, okay.
So every analysis a few years later found that sugar intake actually correlated better. So that basically invalidated his conclusion.
Yep, and D is the right answer. Again, you can pause the video here. Okay, and now we're going to answer the question. So the most reliable sampling exercise mentioned in the passage was conducted in, and then there are a list of countries. So sampling exercise. So I assume it's going to be in the second and third paragraphs. Okay, so I found sample in the second paragraph. Right. Okay, I found sample as well in the third paragraph. So there are like different samples in different areas. So fewer than 500 men, significantly low samples. So you know it's not like 7 country study. Okay, so it's probably not going to be any of these 7 country study. So it's not going to be Crete or Italy. Is West Germany in that? No, West Germany. It's probably going to be India. Hopefully this is right. Okay, it's A. Yes.
So in this situation, it might have been, it was easier to exclude the incorrect answers because it asks for the most reliable, so you have to make sure all the others are less reliable than what you selected. Another question for you, I'll give you a few seconds to tackle it and come back when you're ready. So, it's another according to the passage question, and once again that directs you to look for a specific idea in the passage. Switching from fats to carbohydrates can cause all of these except, well, reducing fat in the diet may lead to increase in the intake of carbohydrates mentioned in the last paragraph, so that's just finding the keywords of fat and carbohydrates. Type 2 diabetes is mentioned, increased insulin is also mentioned, and heart disease is also mentioned. So this is fairly straightforward. C is the only answer that is not mentioned. The thing to be careful here, though, is to look at the sort of negative, so except. Obviously, they bold it here, but that's not to say they will do it in the actual exam.
Cool. I got C. Okay, I'll do. I really hate these philosophy questions. Okay. So, pause. Okay. So the first thing I'm doing is I'm just looking at the text and sort of, as Cam did previously, sort of categorize them in my head. So there's just some random quote at the beginning. There's some stuff about this guy, David Hume, about logic and inductive arguments. Okay. And there's some stuff about free will DNA in the next paragraph. Okay. Another quote or something, and chaos theory, mechanical systems, and other stuff. Okay, so this is just a really annoying text. But you know, I'll see what I can do. Opening statement denies the existence of free will. Okay, so it's talking about the first paragraph. So, okay, so denies the existence of free will because it asserts that all actions are either forced or spontaneous. So all actions are random and all actions are predetermined. I think is this one. Okay, here comes the moment of truth. Alright, I'm wrong, aren't I?
I'm not so sure of this one.
Okay, I think it's D. Yes! Look at that. 690 VR. Yeah. Okay. I mean, it's just 2 lines, but because it's philosophy, it's just hard to get your head around it, especially in the time limit. Yeah, you know, it's not this one. There's nothing about evil. There's nothing about all actions being spontaneous and all actions. There's like either or, so that's why I use this one. Okay, according to the passage question, So it's going to be one of these paragraphs, or a specific bit, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which one of these shows that identical twins can be studied to show inheritance patterns? Okay, so the stuff about identical twins is here. I don't think it's anywhere else. So studying identicals read apart show that intelligence is very much inherited. When read apart, they show similar. I don't think intelligence is behavioral traits. I don't know, it might be. There are genetically understood consumers that it's not that. Less known is that behavior also seems to be display a larger degree of inheritability. Okay, so it's probably A actually. Yeah, there's nothing about the last 3 points in the paragraph in the text. Yes.
The next question is about the argument of a passage, and sometimes you'll get these where you have to summarize the ideas in the passage. So in argument questions like these, the sort of main conclusion of a passage will either be at the start, at the very beginning, or at the very end. So that's where we're going to want to look. So the beginning just talks about a quote, which is not really relevant. So we'll look at the end. So the final sentence says, even if our genes predetermine everything in theory, in actual fact this is not so, as the environment they are in is so complex, they are subject to many influences. So that means that you cannot predict the actions or the consequences or whatever will happen. But even if they are predetermined, they are not sort of predictable. So that makes the answer B.
So now we're going to talk about true, false, can't tell questions. Is the other only verbal reasoning question type?
Yeah.
Okay. So one tip before you start is it's going to be unlikely to be the extremes. So whenever it says something like all something something or no something something, it's going to be unlikely that they're going to be true. That's probably the only tip I can give.
And also, the keyword method works here because there's only one statement, so you just have to look at that part of the text. Sometimes you do have to stitch different bits together, but a lot of the time it's just a single idea.
Okay, so I'm skimming this right now. There's stuff about Napoleon and United States. I don't know. Okay, there's a lot of like culture, literature stuff, and Cinderella. Okay, I don't know what's going on. A martial baton was essential period of instrument it was an essential piece. Okay, so highlighting that of military equipment. It's just the French soldiers during the Napoleonic period. Okay, so I saw Napoleon here. So I'm looking at the first paragraph. His philosophy was that every French soldier has a marshal's baton in his rucksack. That's a philosophy, not a fact. But I can't really tell here. So I'm guessing it's can't tell. His philosophy. It's not. I reckon it just can't tell.
Yeah, it's can't tell.
Yeah.
So you can see here, even if it's sort of his philosophy, it doesn't mean he enforced it.
Yeah, that doesn't mean it's real.
Yeah.
Postman Pat. Okay, this one.
So the next one of President Lincoln's claims to fame, is that he freed slaves. So we're looking for Lincoln, and that is mentioned in the first paragraph as well. He began life in poverty, and he was remembered for emancipating slaves. Basically, if you don't know what it means, guess based on the context. So
emancipating probably means free.
Yeah. So one of President Lincoln's claims to fame. One of
okay,
that's pretty important. So he'll always be remembered for emancipating slaves.
I reckon it's can't tell.
Freed slaves.
Because he will always be remembered for something. That doesn't necessarily mean it's a claim to fame. Wait, and what even is a claim to fame? Is that something you're claiming?
Something that he's claiming to become famous.
Yeah, so he's not claiming.
I'll say it's probably true.
Still, okay. I'll check. Okay, it's true. So, okay, I claim to fame, not something you're claiming. Okay, understood. Next question. The story of Dick Whittington is a completely fictional fairy tale. Huh?
Then tell me.
Don't tell me. What?
Checking out my history, do you remember?
Yeah, vaguely. The fairy tale Dick Whittington is based on historical fact. The story of Dick Whittington is a completely, you see that extreme word. So you know it's got to be false. Yes.
Well done. So the next one is talking about Cinderella, and once again it's a name, so it's easy to find. It's in the second paragraph. Rags to riches story. Shows that love and good is more powerful, influence and evil. Well, that's not really mentioned, is it? So
some stuff at the bottom as well.
Yeah, it promises hope. However dark. So probably can't tell. Promises hope.
Yeah, I can't really see anything about long-term
influence. Yeah.
However dark today seemed, there can be a brighter tomorrow.
Yeah, but good. It says good is. So if it was good, can be.
Yeah. No, we need to delete our channel.
The idea of a promise shows that it will happen. So therefore, it does show that in the good term, good is more powerful with influence than evil. So the answer should be A. If you've had a go at the question now, so we'll have a look at this. So Brunner, she studied the architecture of Roman ruins. So he became interested in architecture when visiting Rome. He was one of the first men to investigate. Yes, so he investigated the architecture of Roman ruins.
True.
Yes.
Okay, and yes, true.
So that was basically a rephrasing of the first paragraph there, so very straightforward.
The only churches, if you look at that word, Brunelleschi. Okay, nice name. Designed and built were in Florence. Okay, so just going to look at Florence here. Second paragraph. Complete Florence's cathedral. Is it cathedral's a church, right? Yeah. Incomplete. Blah 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 blah. And you're building a dome. You can't really tell. I can just can't tell. Yes.
So the next question is another statement. So crane. So crane would be in the third paragraph because that's where it mentions crane. And operates using animal power. So the power of a single ox. That doesn't mean that he actually used an animal. It just says that the actual crane itself had that power. So
wait, no, it might using a system of pulleys and the power of an ox. It does.
No, I interpreted that as like that's because sometimes you know how cars have horsepower. So
it's not like that.
So yeah.
And the power of a single ox. Okay. I still reckon it's true. Yeah. I got this one. This guy was a self-taught architect. Actually studied literature but was more interested in art. I'm looking at the last paragraph. He discovered linear perspective and answered the proportion strict proportion. I can't tell. Yeah, doesn't really say anything about who taught him or anything. Yeah, C.
So that's all the questions we'll be covering. Hopefully you found it useful to look at our thought process.
Yeah, let us know if you want some for abstract reasoning and the other sections. But in terms of verbal reasoning, the main thing is skimming it, looking at keywords, and just really be like using your eyes to just find the words as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Because it's just mainly time management that people are really bad at.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Practice and good luck. How's this happened?